In this video, we're going to take a look at the Extrude Faces tool. I'm going to first start by setting my project directory to the appropriate folder that I have my reference material in. So I'm going to go to File, Set Project, and what I'm looking for here is Chapter 4. The Projects folder is my actual project directory, so I'll just choose Set. Now I'll go back and we'll choose File, Open, and now I'm taken directly to my Scenes folder. And we're going to grab our first scene file here, Crow 1. And I'm going to go to a quad view here. And you can see inside of the scene, I already have my image planes set up that I'm going to be using for reference. So let's go ahead and explode the side view here. And we'll zoom up a little bit. I'm going to start by creating a polygon primitive cube. And we're going to use this cube to box model our crow. Now, right now, it's still just kind of at its default here. So before I actually start modeling, I'm going to set up symmetry so that when I model one side, the other side is automatically updated for me. Now, we can do this after we finish modeling, and we actually have several different methods that we can use to either transfer the data from one side to the other or just copy it, either way you want to look at it. But we're going to go ahead and just take a look at how we would do this from the get-go. I'm going to switch to my channel box and just scroll down here a little bit. Looking at my polycube construction history, I'm going to take the subdivision width here and just raise that up to 2. So I selected the actual channel and then just middle mouse in my viewport and scrolled left to right in order to add those divisions. So we'll just bring that up to 2, and that is just subdividing my cube perfectly. Let's turn on our modeling toolkit, which is this icon up here, and we have an option right here for symmetry. I want to turn my symmetry on for object X. We have an object here, and we can look down at my world coordinate and see that the x-axis is going in this direction here, and I just want to mirror across that x-axis. Now, we could also choose world X as well, and it would work for this particular model because this model is aligned in the world in the X value, just like it is for its own object or its own local space. So regardless, this will work. Now, if I had rotated my model into a different axis, something like this, even if it's a little off center, then that world coordinate is not going to work because it's still going to see this axis over here and not this axis, which you can see over here has now been rotated. So that's our major difference there. So let's just go back. We're going to choose Object X, and now I'll right-click and go to Faces. And now you can see when I get my pre-selection highlight that it highlights both sides of my model. This tells me my symmetry is working exactly as expected. Now I'm going to switch, and let's go back to that side view here. And I'm just going to go to Object Mode. And at this stage, we can just ignore what's happening on the other side of the model and just trust that our symmetry is activated. Even if it doesn't come out perfect, we can always do some other types of tricks to get it to look exactly the way we want it to. So I'm not overly concerned about it. So I'm going to just move my cube down here. Let's scale that a little bit. And you can see we're going to use this cube to represent the main part of my crow's body. Let's shape this up just a little bit. So I'm going to just draw out a marquee and grab those verts and just shift them exactly where I want them to go. And in this case, we're just trying to match the outline border of our reference material. Let's switch back over to just a perspective view here real quick. And I'm going to select that top face. Now I'm only selecting the one side, the other side automatically being highlighted for me. And we'll go down here into the modeling toolkit, and I'm going to choose Extrude. Let's just bring my side view back up now that I have my proper faces. And I switch just because it's pretty difficult to try to select those top faces there. And we'll choose Extrude. As soon as I choose that, I get my in-view editor, and I could use the parameters here, which gives me my thickness, or we could just grab it in the Z, which I kind of prefer to do in this particular case because we kind of have this organic object, and I just think it's a little bit easier to use the manipulator here as opposed to going out to the in-view editor. And I just kind of have everything that I need right here. And then I'm going to rotate. I'm aligning this to my reference material, but I'm also trying to keep in account the direction that the character is going in. And what I'm talking about here is the flow of the geometry through the character's body. So it kind of goes up through here. We don't want to have straight lines going across the model or even like the grid that you can see in the background. That would be really ugly looking geometry. We want it to flow with the character. All right, that's looking pretty good. Now we can add another extrusion. And since I still have it selected, I can just hit G on the keyboard, and that's going to give me another extrusion that I can pull out, so I don't have to worry about selecting those faces again. And we'll scale this here. We'll just undo, bring that manipulator back, and we just want to add some rotation and slide that in there. Let's hit G again and pull out yet another extrusion, and we're going to bring this one right below his head. And let's rotate this as well. Now, when you're using this manipulator, you'll kind of see here that now the rotate tool goes over the top of the translate tool. So if I need to translate again, it seems kind of awkward and a little difficult to click. But if you just click kind of underneath, we then can get that transform tool activated again. Let's add another extrusion. Just hit G again. And I'm going to pull this one up all the way to the top of the character's head. And then I'm going to switch to Components and go to Vertex. And then just move these vertices so that it fits the shape of the top of the character's head. And I'm aligning these verts here, pull that down just a little bit, so that I can actually pull geometry out for the beak. So instead of trying to get the geometry to roll over, meaning that I didn't take this edge right here and tried to rotate it so that it would be right here, instead we just lift it up and extrude from another angle, and that gives us that proper flow. And I'm going to go to face, and we'll see if we can't snag the front of those faces there. I think I got them. We'll go ahead and hit extrude, and we'll pull out another extrusion here. Let's scale that down. That's looking pretty good. Let's move to the bottom of the crow, and I'm going to select those faces and then just deselect those extra ones there. And I have that bottom face still selected. I'll choose extrude, and we'll kind of pull this out. And I think I'm just going to jump right over to vertex mode here. Hit W, my move tool back up. And I'm going to take these here, and this one's kind of important. I'm grabbing these and shifting these so that I have a nice flat surface right here to pull the crow's legs out. So now I've got a nice surface there that I'll be able to extrude down from there. We can maybe move that one just a little bit. And again, I'm going to select a large group of faces there. Deselect, that leaves me with the tail faces. And we'll choose extrude. Let's just pull this out and we'll scale that in. So that just gives us our base. We can always add additional geometry, but it can be complex if you start taking away geometry. So when we start our model, less is more. You can clearly see another vert right in here would help give him a bit more of that bird breast, but that's not really necessary. We can still achieve this nice basic shape without having to do all of that. And again, we can always come back in and insert more geometry, but that initial construction, let's keep it down to a minimum. It's easier to do after the fact than it is to keep extruding. Let's take a break here and we'll come back in another video and we'll bring out the crow's legs.